Hello, hello, everyone. Glad folks are trickling in. All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon. We're going to dive right in since we have so much to cover today. I'll get us started with some quick housekeeping notes for folks who may have never joined our webinars before. My name is Colleen, and I'll be moderating this conversation today. I am so excited to be joined by Rose Beverly, who is a senior staff AI UX researcher at PayPal. Just for a couple quick housekeeping notes, we will be recording this session and everyone will get a copy of the recording by tomorrow in their email inbox to whichever email you use to register. And we're aiming for about 45 minutes together. And so we'll certainly leave plenty of time for Q&A at the end. So feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A box along the bottom bar of your Zoom screen as we go. I do have a feeling we will have a lot of questions. So if it ends up that we can't get to all of them, we've been thinking of a couple creative ways to still get those questions answered asynchronously. But with that, I think we can start to dive in. Feel free to share where you're dialing in from. I'm calling in from Cambridge, Massachusetts. And Rose, who I will introduce right now, is calling in from sunny San Diego. So with that, yeah, I will do a quick intro of, for folks who don't know me, I lead D-Scout's customer and community programs, which includes getting to host conversations like these every now and again. And I'm really excited to be guiding today's conversation on a topic that is reshaping how we work, bringing AI into UX workflows. So as I mentioned, we're so lucky to be joined by the brilliant and amazing Rose Beverly, and she has put together an incredible framework that we're going to go through together today, kind of like a practical guide for making AI more of a collaborative partner as you're doing your work. And wanted to share a little bit of context of kind of how this session came about before I hand it over to Rose. We've been hosting more and more of these conversations related to AI throughout 2025. And in the first half of the year, I would be reading folks' comments in the chat and notice like a real appetite in the Zoom chat and feedback from all of you in our People Nerds community for more kind of like tactical guides or more of a how-to with conversations of how people are using AI in their work today, versus just the more high-level kind of like conversations surrounding AI and how it's changing our work. So really excited that this is going to be a more hands-on, something we can hand to you that you can start using. And I was introduced to Rose by someone who said, "Oh, you really have to meet Rose. She'd created the #1 rated UX tool in the GPT store for UX researchers and UX designers." So quite the intro. And we just started to kind of kick around some ideas of what the session could look like. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Rose to tell us a little bit more about herself, and we'll dive in. So Rose, if you want to share a little bit more about your background, and then we can kind of get into how this framework came to life.
Hi, thanks, Colleen. That was a great intro. Hi, everybody. I'm so grateful that you're here, and most importantly, thank you for your time and your attention. I'm Rose Beverly. I'm a senior staff UX researcher at PayPal. A little bit about myself. Over the past decade or so, I've worked primarily on innovation teams across various industries, such as financial tech, cybersecurity, ed tech, etc. And in November of 2022, I'm sure y'all are familiar with this, ChatGPT became mainstream, right? And I was working at CrowdStrike at the time. CrowdStrike's a leading US cybersecurity company in the United States. And at that time, employees were blocked from using AI tools. So I started experimenting with AI outside of my day-to-day work. At that time of early experimentation, I didn't know exactly how AI would change the way we work, but as an anthropologist, I just knew it was a technology that would fundamentally shift society, specifically the way we work, and the way we work with each other and the way we live our lives. So I remember, I don't know if anybody else can relate to this, but I was so amazed by the AI capabilities with ChatGPT, or Midjourney, and I really didn't sleep for a couple of weeks, honestly. I was so excited, and completely nerded out. I spent way too many hours on Midjourney. But yeah, That being said, I experimented, I launched my own company, I launched my own nonprofit with the intent to learn, experiment, and just to play. So I used AI to explore different parts of the product development lifecycle. So from research to content to light prototyping to building business models, right? So AI really gave me the freedom to break things, test ideas, and rebuild my workflow from the ground up. As I've continued to experiment, I've realized that there's something fundamentally missing from developing AI-powered workflows. And most of the advice that we hear today are still really out there. So the narrative is either too tactical, like use ChatGPT to write a survey, or too abstract, like AI will change everything or AI will replace you. I'm sure we're all hearing these narratives, right? What was missing was a clear framework that would help us answer the questions: where should I use AI in my workflow? Which AI tools should I use? When is it safe or low risk to automate my tasks with AI? And where does human judgment still matter the most, right? Where do we need to keep that human touch? So I created the master framework to make sense of AI-powered workflows. At first, it was just for me, but now I'm sharing it with all of you. Master has been one of my secret weapons for working more strategically and intelligently with AI. So, Master is a practical, repeatable process to help everybody, regardless of your role, not just UXers, integrate AI intentionally and strategically into your workflow. It helps you zoom out, spot patterns, and make smarter and safer decisions about where and how AI can actually support your work without compromising quality and rigor, which is what we both, or all of us, not us, but all of us are, really hold ourselves to. So that's what we're going to explore here today: how to use this framework, how to adapt it in your own practice, and where I know the future of work is headed.
So let's dive right in.
I am having a technical difficulty. One second. It's the Figma slide. Okay, just a moment. Got to restart here. Hold on. Thank you, Figma. It's all good. It happens. It's just the nature of the work that we do.
As pesky new technology we're testing out.
I know. Oh, shoot. I don't know what that is. Okay. Can y'all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Here we go. Are we going through? Are we good?
Yes.
Cool. Um, so that being said, for the rest of our time together, here's a quick summary of what to expect, right? So I'll introduce you to the master framework. From there, we'll zoom out a bit and talk about the future of work more broadly, especially the return of the generalist and what this shift means for us as practitioners or knowledge workers, okay? After that, I'll give you some tactical advice on how to get started, including low-risk places to begin and tools that are worth exploring. So, and of course, we'll leave some time for Q&A. Cool. So let me begin by the most obvious question. Why is the master framework important and why use this framework, right? So there's a lot of hype and confusion and noise around AI right now. And in fact, the hype has been going on for the last 3 years, which makes me excited, but also there's a lot of myths and lore going around that are untrue. So new tools are popping up every day, and everyone's trying to figure out how and where to actually integrate AI tools. So I created the master framework for AI-powered workflows to bring clarity and cut through that noise. So in order to strategically embed AI tooling into our workflows, you have to understand your entire workflow, its core tasks, and how you operate within it. So who is this framework for? Like I said earlier, it's really for everybody, not just UX practitioners. This isn't just for researchers, whether you're a CEO, executive leadership, a VP, small business owner, designers, PMs, engineers, anyone can apply this framework to understand their workflows. So let's start with this first step. This is the foundational step. It's mapping your workflow. This is foundational because if you don't know what's in your workflow, you can't make inform strategic decisions about where to apply AI. For me and myself, I'm a UX researcher. So that meant breaking down the UX research process into 10 phases, from stakeholder alignment all the way to design ideation. So each phase contains a set of repeatable tasks. And when you have clear visibility into those tasks, that is when you begin to have clarity on where AI can really start to plug in, right? So it's a visual representation of the ways that you work. So the goals of mapping your workflow are twofold. Number one, visibility, and number two, understanding. Most of us are already, most of us have workflows. We're already working workflows, but we're not always conscious about mapping them. And so once you lay out your flow, you can spot patterns, bottlenecks, and points that require high cognitive labor. And those are the places where AI automation or augmentation often make the most impact. So again, mapping is the foundation. Once you've mapped your workflow, the next step is to audit. You want to take each phase and that you've mapped out and break it down into individual tasks. Think of this as building your workflow inventory, a detailed list of everything that you actually do. This exercise requires you to list out every task and every decision in your flow, not just the obvious ones like interviews or synthesis, but the in-between moments too, right? We do a lot of things. So writing invite emails, scheduling stakeholders, setting up dashboards, saying hello to a new colleague, all these different micro tasks that we do. So the goal is to surface all of the micro decisions and repeatable moments that actually make up your day. This task list becomes the foundation of your AI-powered workflow. So once you have this full inventory, you can begin to answer the questions: where can I automate with AI? Where can I augment my cognitive labor with AI? And what still needs the human touch? Questions that the community has been asking and questions that are coming in my DMs all the time, both on LinkedIn, but also internally at PayPal. After you've compiled your task inventory, the next step is to identify where AI can plug in. This is where you scan for AI opportunities, and this is kind of where the heavy lifting is. So we shift from listing those tasks to evaluating them, specifically across a 2x2 matrix, which I call task level AI governance. Okay, so on the horizontal x-axis, you'll see low to high complexity. That refers to how much domain knowledge, nuance, or creativity does this task require. On that y-axis, which is low to high automation risk, if AI gets it wrong, meaning if it hallucinates or errors, how bad is that impact, right? Is this mistake easy to spot? Or will it silently break trust with my stakeholders if I get something wrong, or if it gets something wrong? Will it skew the data? Will it misalign your team? Or most importantly, will it misalign your larger organization? When you plot these two axes, you get a 2x2 framework with 4 quadrants. I'll cover these really quickly. The first quadrant is the bottom left quadrant, which is low complexity, low risk. So this is where tasks are, for the most part, safe to automate. These are the repetitive, low-stake tasks where AI can run unsupervised in a way. So an example of that would be interviewing, interview or meeting transcripts, formatting slides, writing communications, emails, Slack messages, etc. So there's not a lot of risk there if AI makes an error, right? The second quadrant is the top left quadrant. Low complexity, high risk. These tasks are easy for AI to generate, but a mistake could cause serious downstream consequences if it slips through unreviewed. This is where a lot of people's paranoia comes from, in my opinion. So think of this quadrant as this looks good at first glance, but needs a human safety check, right? So examples of tasks that would fall within that quadrant are drafting stakeholder interview questions for onboarding, or for onboarding to a research brief, scheduling confirmation emails, consent form language, translation, etc. This third quadrant, which is the bottom right, High complexity, low risk. These tasks require human creativity, pattern recognition, or judgment, but AI can still help accelerate the messy first draft. So think of this quadrant as AI helps me start fast, but I'm the one who adds value, right? So the human adds the value here. Examples of this would be thematic clustering of qualitative data. So AI proposes themes, you merge, reframe, or discard its suggestions. Generating how might we questions or statements. AI suggests them, you refine the language and scope, right? You see there's a collaboration happening there. It's not a full automation. Creating low fidelity wireframes with lovable.dev. AI builds it, you align it with UX best practices. And for the final quadrant, the fourth quadrant is that top right. This is high complexity, high risk. These are the tasks for now with the state of technology need the human touch. And these tasks will all change, right? This is just where we're at today. But these are the trust sensitive strategic tasks that should stay fully human led for now. I always say for now because things are changing so quickly. We all know that. So examples of tasks that would fall within this quadrant are navigating stakeholder politics, which we all have to, endure, interpreting conflicting data, stakeholder onboarding, presenting live findings, and facilitating Q&A with leadership. Although I will say, presenting and moderating interviews are changing now with tools like HeyGen, Synthesia, Outset.ai. And Outset.ai is one of my favorite tools and a must-have for anyone's research toolkit. So that being said, this task level AI governance grid brings clarity on where to safely experiment with AI, where to co-create with it, and where the human touch is still needed. So this is your framework, everybody on this call or anybody that's watching this. This is your framework for understanding what to automate and what to keep human. Okay, once you've scanned your workflow, you identified where AI can plug in, the next step is to trial and experiment with the tools. This is the fun part. This is where we move from theory into practice, okay? It's not about designing the perfect AI system or the perfect AI workflow up front. It's about running small, low-risk experiments and seeing what works and what does not work for now. Start with one or two tasks in that low risk, low complexity zone. So maybe a couple of examples are maybe you let ChatGPT draft stakeholder emails for you, or you use lovable.dev to ideate quick prototypes during design ideation, or you use HeyGen to present on your behalf. Okay, try it on a real project with real deliverables, then observe what happens. We're all required to become AI experimenters in a way, yeah? So during these experimental trials, you want to really ask yourself a set of questions that will guide you. Does it save me time? Does it reduce friction? Does it increase the quality of my work or the efficiency of my work, or both? And what still needs human judgment? These are like core questions you have to keep top of mind when you're experimenting. And just to be clear with the audience, you don't need to overhaul your entire workflow overnight. That's not what I'm suggesting. Just treat each tool you trial like experimental play. Some tools you will embed as must-have tools. They will work, and then others you'll table and leave behind. That's the point. We're experimenting, we're playing, we're innovating new ways of working, and that's incredibly exciting. Is why, okay, hold on. Another technical difficulty with the Figma slides. Just a moment, y'all. Can you see my green trees?
Yes.
Great.
The cleanest desktop I've ever seen.
No, that's where I want to be right now, riding underneath the trees. Just one moment. We'll get this going again. In the meantime, I hope everyone's doing well. I'm going to skip through this real quick. Where were we? Trialing,
We're
yes.
on
Talking
the
about the
screen.
trial, the questions top of mind. Okay. I think I left off here, going into the embed part of the master framework. So sorry about the technical difficulties. But yeah, once you've trialed a few tools and see real value, you'll know, whether it saved you hours, elevated the quality of your work, or just made your life easier, it's time to embed these tools. Right. So this is the moment where your AI experimentation or experiments start becoming a part of your default way of working. You're normalizing a new way of working, to use a Foucauldian term. If something works, lock it in. And if add it to your toolkit, embed it, make sure it's a part of your ongoing way of working. So this phase is about transforming experiments into infrastructure, workflow infrastructure. You're not just using a tool anymore. You are building a scalable AI powered workflow. And then last, repeat. This is not a one and done process, okay? I don't want you all to think that. Master is a process you must embed throughout your entire career. You will all be required to become lifelong learners. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we all will be required to continually upskill rapidly. So, how do we embed master? So, something I'm currently trialing is blocking time each quarter or at the end of a major project for what I call an AI tooling retrospective, which I do with myself, but it could be interesting to do it with other people. That's your moment to remap any new phases you've added to your workflow. So if you're expanding your skill set into other domains, you want to add those different phases and different tasks within. You want to re-audit the tasks you may have overlooked. You want to rescan for new AI opportunities, so for new tools or features that have emerged, and you want to retrial the ones that you've tabled, the ones meaning the tools that you've tabled, or try out new tools as well. So as your role expands outside of your traditional specialist scope, this framework ensures you're always working with the most up-to-date, optimized AI stack. Looking ahead, the master workflow mapping exercise lays the foundation for the next stage of AI tooling, which I'm super excited about, and I haven't talked about much yet. But that next stage of AI tooling is incorporating AI agents. So once you've done enough cycles of master, you'll start to see clearly which tasks can be handed off, not just to LLMs or AI tools, but to AI agents that can run full sequences on your behalf, right? So repeat isn't just about refinement. It's your launchpad into AI agentic workflow orchestration and also moving from a specialist role into a generalist role. So expanding outside of your current specialist domain. Okay, so now that you've got this master framework in your toolkit, let's bring it to life. This is I took it upon myself to apply this framework to my own role. So again, I'm a UX researcher. So this AI integration map for UXR workflows is a concrete and practical example of master applied to a role. So I built it to show exactly how AI tools can be layered into the entire research lifecycle. So this map includes every phase of a typical UXR workflow, the key tasks at each stage, the exact AI tools and LLMs that I've trialed and embedded, and clear callouts for where human judgment still matters the most. So I created this because I was getting the same questions over and over again. Where do I start? What tools do I use? How do I know it's safe to automate this step, right? So this map is designed for you, whether you're a researcher, a designer, PM, or anyone rethinking how your workflow could benefit from AI. And for everyone on the call or anybody watching this recording, you'll receive a copy of this map shortly after this webinar. So consider it your North Star as you start applying the master framework to your own practice. Figma is going to be the death of my soul.
Are you able to use the arrows on the bottom to advance instead of like the ones that were on the screen?
Yeah, I just, here we go. I think I'm getting used to this.
There you go, keeping you on
It's
your toes.
it's all good. No worries. Can y'all see this?
Yes.
Cool. It's a nice little break. Here we go.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for going through that. I really love how like practical and usable the framework is in terms of like answering that question of like, we've all heard so much around like AI tools, how they can help us over the last few years, but not as much, where to start or what to use when. So I think that this framework will be incredibly helpful for people. So just a reminder for everyone on the call, you will you will get a copy of this so that you can start to kind of like apply it and use it for yourself and run through those assessments. But I did want to save some time for us to zoom out for a minute now that we've kind of talked about like the how to get started to focus in a little bit on the why now, since I do think that's really just as important, especially when talking about the future of work and how AI is shifting the playing field in UX.
Right.
As you mentioned when we were just getting started was there's always that common take around AI of like, oh, it's coming for everyone's job,
Oh
but
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, I'm guilty of falling for that myself. Like
Oh,
it comes
me
like
too. Yeah.
fear, for sure. Yeah.
No, me too. But as we've been talking and prepping for the session, I have really loved, your take on the future of work in UX and the role that AI will and really like frankly already is playing, and just how it's I think far more nuanced than like the quick scare of like, oh, it's coming for your job right now. And so I'm glad we have some time to talk about it. And I'd love for you to kind of share, with everyone else where you think we're heading.
Yeah, thanks, Colleen. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, this is the part I'm really excited about and I love noodling on outside of my day-to-day because while tools and frameworks are important, right? What's even more important is how all of this fits into the bigger picture, which is what you pointed to. Where is our discipline going? And you're right. There is a lot of fear based messaging about how AI will take our jobs. I see it every day in mainstream media. I see it on LinkedIn. I see it on X. It's quite exhausting. And I think that narrative is way too narrow, and quite bluntly, it's wrong. The narrative that AI will take our jobs is very disconnected from how AI is actually showing up in our day-to-day work. So, in other words, how people are actually using AI, right? So, Anthropology 101 is pay attention to what people say versus their behavior. And there's two different things going on. There's a narrative, but the behavior is different. So what we're seeing in the field, if you will, uh, isn't a replacement of our jobs quite yet, even though, I know it seems like that because there are ongoing layoffs, which a lot of people have experienced, and I'm very sympathetic to that. But what we're witnessing is a redefinition of our roles as knowledge workers. In other words, the boundaries between our specialist roles are beginning to blur, and a redefinition of roles are taking place. So, yes, some tasks are being automated, but what's emerging is a new kind of UX practitioner. So, one who's not just executing studies, but eventually orchestrating systems of AI agents on their behalf, right? So one who knows how to combine tools, prompts, strategy to unlock new ways of working. And that's where we are today. And that is where the discipline is headed. And I'm so excited, delighted, grateful, whatever word you want to throw in there, to really be a part of that journey to help shape and steer the future of our discipline. And one quote that really stands out to me is from Sarah Gibbons and I can't see the other name. As AI reshapes our field, we are seeing an interesting shift, the return of the generalist. Maybe this will work. Yeah, the buttons aren't working. Okay, we're gonna do this again.
Yep. Take five.
Okay, it's all good. Okay, there we go. Future of work, where we're headed. Um, so I want to touch on this article that NNG published in March of 2025, so this year. They published an article called The Return of the UX Generalist. And I was really excited to see that thought leadership piece because I was already starting to begin to think about this. They argue that even though we're still specialized today, but because of AI, the pendulum is swinging towards generalists once again. They share, we believe these broad skills will coalesce into experienced designer and architect roles. So people who direct AI supported design tasks to craft experiences for human and AI agents alike, while ensuring that the resulting work reflects well-researched strategic thinking. And this visual you see here from NNG helps explain what we're really seeing in practice, right? So AI is expanding that professional expertise framework. So is fundamentally reshaping what it means to be a UX professional. So let's start on the left. This is the traditional T-shaped model of our expertise. The vertical part of the T is your core discipline. Doesn't matter which discipline you're in across that product lifecycle, marketing, design, product management, engineering, wherever. And the horizontal bar across the top represents your secondary skills. So things like light prototyping, workshop facilitation, analytics fluency. Now, the visualization on the right, this is where AI steps in. What we're seeing isn't the elimination of specialization, it's the expansion of it, right? So AI allows us to stretch further across the top of that T, taking on tasks we previously didn't have the capacity or the confidence to explore. So things like building dashboards with AI generated metrics, or auto-generating first draft wireframes with Lovable, etc. So those pink blocks that you see there, those are AI boosted skills. They don't replace your core expertise, they extend it. So you're becoming AI augmented. That's freaking cool. And even more importantly, they unlock orchestration, the ability to connect work across disciplines and drive system levels thinking. So all that being said, AI doesn't flatten the field. It gives you more surface area to explore and quickly expand your skill set. So as your skills expand beyond your core specialization, the master framework becomes even more valuable, helping you build a structured AI-powered workflow that scales your growth as a practitioner. So now y'all might be thinking, this is all cool and interesting, but where do I actually start? So NNG offers some really grounded, practical advice here. Whoopsies, sorry about that, y'all. Why isn't this working? There we go. They suggest, some practical advice that I want to share with you today that I think it'll be helpful for y'all to take away. They suggest prepare for the transition, right? Start by acknowledging that things are shifting. This isn't a temporary trend. Whether you're cautious or excited about it, you should get curious. So ask how your workflows are already changing, even if you haven't explicitly brought in AI yet. Number two, develop a learning mindset. So again, like I said earlier, we will all be expected to become lifelong learners. So you need to reframe your mind into becoming a lifelong learner. That is key. You don't need to become an expert overnight. What matters most is building a habit of experimentation. Block time to try new tools, let yourself fail fast. Curiosity is the new core skill that we all must acquire. Become fluent in AI collaboration. This isn't about prompt engineering perfection. It's about being able to frame a task well or a use case well and understand a model's limitations and use AI as a thinking collaborator. Focus on transferable skills, the skills that matter most: critical thinking, storytelling, ethics. They aren't going away. AI can draft, summarize, and cluster, but it can't decide what matters, right? That's still us. And then the last thing they suggest is to expand into adjacent fields. So you don't need to stay in the pure research lane or whatever lane you're in. Dabble in prototyping, try automation tools. AI is lowering the barrier to acquiring skills across disciplines. And the more range you develop with your skill set, the more valuable you become in the market. I think these are really valuable takeaways from NNG. And I wanted to add some to that. So these are some of the habits and skills I recommend building based on what I've seen work for myself and my colleagues. So the first thing is very foundational. You want to master prompt crafting. So think of prompt writing as foundational to the new ways of working or mastering AI-powered workflows. So learn to write precise, structured prompts that help LLMs return the results that you actually need. So my colleagues have heard me say, I'm a broken record with this in almost every meeting, the quality of the prompt that you put in equals the quality of the output. It does not matter which AI tool you're using, whether it be Lovable.dev, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, DeepSeek. It doesn't matter what you're using, the quality of your prompt equals the quality of the output. So a pro tip, use AI to refine your prompts. And I'll touch on that a little bit later. The next is map your workflow. So use the master framework to map your workflow. It gives you visibility and clarity into where AI can actually help. There we go. Okay, the next is develop an understanding of context engineering. A great prompt is nothing without context. So this is the latest trend, right? We all have been kind of doing context engineering, but you need to be very intentional. So for example, you want to use ChatGPT's projects and upload all the context documents for the use case or the objective that you're trying to do, right? So this is one strategic way to prevent hallucinations and increase the quality of the output. So if you're working as a researcher, for example, and you're being briefed on a project and you need to write a research brief, you want to bring in the PRD, you want to bring in previous research, you want to bring in notes from your stakeholder meetings, bring that all together in one context engineered ChatGPT project or a Claude artifact. And that way you'll be able to talk to all the deliverables. And a couple more, deepen cross-functional collaboration. So this one is huge. AI creates new handoff points. It is fundamentally not just changing the way not fundamentally changing human-computer interaction, but it's also changing the way you work with your colleagues, right? So team up with somebody cross-functional and ask to trade off low-lift tasks. So I can meet up with a designer and say, hey, I want to learn quick prototyping. Do you mind if I take these tasks off your table? And if they want to partner with you, they can take low lift tasks off your table too, like writing a research brief or leading a design ideation session, et cetera. Both you and your colleagues or your group will level up faster that way. And then last, build. This is from my colleague. I want to give him a shout out, Bobby, who I spent a lot of time on Discord with some folks around the world. And Bobby is a really good friend of mine. But I learned this from him. You need to keep track of what you try. So what tools work, what flops, what you want to revisit later. So build and maintain a tool inventory. Tools are changing really quickly and your needs evolve. So your needs do evolve, other business needs or the ways that you work. So you need to keep a living tool inventory. So those are my suggestions from just kind of experience in the field.
Amazing. I really love the last one around like always evaluating your tool inventory, especially with like how much these tools change in terms of like there might be new tools that could be more effective, but also the tools you're using might be releasing new features that if you're just always using like your default mode in there, you might not be noticing like what they're rolling out and where they're innovating.
Right. Like for example, I use ChatGPT a lot, a huge fangirl. But Gemini has a really cool feature where you can upload videos, right? ChatGPT doesn't really have that yet. So I've gone over to that tool and I've been experimenting with like how to use it in my workflow or just experimenting in general. So table the tool, but always come back to it because everything's changing so quickly.
Yeah, it feels like they're also pushing each other to change as they're competing
That's
against.
great.
So
Competition is wonderful,
keep
right? Like the competition drives innovation. So you have to have that competition out in the market.
Yes, hard to believe, but we are towards the end of our session. So I'm glad we have plenty of time for some Q&A. We've already got a couple questions, but everyone, incredible conversation going on in the chat. Lots of resources shared. I appreciate all of it, and we're happy to share this the chat out as well. Um, but if folks want to drop their Q&A in the Q&A box, it should be along the bottom side, like the bottom bar of your Zoom. It's just a little easier to keep track of, so we can run through whatever we have time for, and anything else, we'll do our best to see what we can answer asynchronously.
Cool.
Great. So with that, let's dive in with a couple questions,
Sure.
Rose. All right. So the first one's gonna be about prompting. What are some good prompts for qualitative and quantitative research or assessing research that has already been done? It's a double. And what are effective prompts for UXR reporting and analysis?
Prompting question. One of the most common questions that I really get. So instead of me writing out the perfect prompt for you, here's a better and more impactful suggestion. So use AI to refine your prompts. Okay. One of the fastest ways to improve your prompting is to literally ask the model how it would improve what you just wrote. So I'll often start with a rough draft and then say, I will prompt AI and say, act as a prompt engineer with over 50 years of experience, specializing in prompt crafting and user experience or whatever. Draw on prompt guidelines from OpenAI, Claude, Gemini, or whatever model you're using. You can provide the links to the website or you can drop in PDFs, and then you insert your prompt that you need help with refinement. That is one way to go about it. Or you can go on the GPT store and use custom GPTs specifically designed for improving your prompts. So those are the most impactful and efficient ways to go about improving your prompting. I see a lot of people out in the field looking for these prompt hacks on LinkedIn or X. Like those are great, but I mean, you don't need to look to anybody else. You can use the tools right in front of you to improve your skill and improve your craft.
Amazing. All right, shifting to question two. This is one I know you can definitely touch on. What do
Right.
you recommend people do if their company hasn't embraced AI for internal use for security or compliance reasons to, try and build this necessary like experience and skills starting to use AI tools?
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people are experiencing this, but I've been in this exact situation twice at major companies with really strict security and compliance restrictions, right? I worked in cybersecurity and financial tech, so I'll just leave it there. So I totally get the frustration. I hear from folks in healthcare. My sister's a PA at Duke. She has complications there. Folks that work for the government, totally hear you. So here's what I'll have to say, and this is what's top of mind. You really have two options, and maybe there are more, but this is kind of what I've come to right now. The first option is to learn and experiment outside of work. Buy your own tools, purchase those subscriptions, build your own projects, use public data sets, summarize podcast transcripts, become a content creator, run usability heuristics through LLMs, right? There's so much that you can do outside of the restrictions of your day-to-day work. So that is actually how I built the foundation of my current practice, is because I had security restrictions. But just testing tools on the side projects and sharpening your instincts along the way will certainly benefit you and your career. Option two is to leave the organization. Eventually transition to a more AI forward company or AI first company, because the truth is, this AI revolution or technological revolution or whatever you want to call it, it's not going away. And you will be required to learn to use these tools in order to remain valuable in the market. So it's not AI that will replace you. I know y'all have heard this. It's those who adopt AI that will, for now. And I'll be really direct here. If you are resisting AI adoption as a researcher or in any of your roles or any role, you're really setting yourself up to fall behind. I want you to really know that. And the gap between people who experiment early and those who wait is only going to widen. So, as a warning signal for everybody, don't fall behind. I don't want anyone to fall behind. I don't want to see folks get laid off. It really hurts my heart to see that. Just dive in, start now.
Absolutely. And kind of, I think on a related note, or is one of the questions that came in. Thank you, Ashley. Is how can folks manage leadership expectations that AI can, like magically shorten timelines or even like take the place of adding another person to the team, especially when the existing team is kind of still trying to go through this process of like training themselves and learning how to use these tools to their advantage. How to kind of temper that mindset that just because we're using AI now, we can shave off hours to weeks of time, which may not actually be like accurate on the ground.
Yeah. Um, that's a really important question too. Here's a reality. You won't see immediate efficiency gains the moment you bring AI tooling into your organization or into your team. I think this is what companies get wrong. They think, oh, if I provide all the tooling, everyone will hop on and get on the AI train, the AI bandwagon, and we'll see massive productivity gains, which translates to more money for the organization, which translates to a higher bonus for, you know how it goes. This is obviously misleading, and that's not because the tech isn't powerful. It's because behavior change takes time. Okay. AI adoption isn't a tooling problem. It's a psychological, behavioral, and cultural problem to solve. And I've written about this in my Substack article. You're not just swapping in a tool, you are redesigning um, how your teams work, right? You're retraining habits. That's behavior change. You're refining workflows, behavior change, and learning how to trust and tune AI outputs in real context. That's also behavior change. So there's a lot of factors at play that organizations aren't thinking about. And I want to flag that. So when leadership expects you to have 3 times a faster output or eliminate the need for headcount, which is really reactive, I recommend reframing the conversation to we have to slow down so that we can speed up. You have to build the architecture, you have to build the processes, get those in place, and you have to understand that behavior change will take time. And one of the most effective ways to make that point tangible is to map out your workflow using the master framework. I really recommend that. You can visually show leadership the current phases of your research or design cycle, where you're trialing AI, where you've embedded it, where the human expertise is still essential, right? So this gives leaders visibility into how AI is being introduced into your team's workflows and why it's not a plug and play acceleration. It also signals that you're being intentional, that you're not resisting change, you're redesigning the way in which people work. And you can position this as a strategic R&D phase. You're not just delivering faster, you're rebuilding the foundation that enables sustainable efficiency and scalable innovation. It's a long-term play, not a short-term play. I hope that was helpful.
Yes. Well, me speaking for everyone else on the call, I would say yes. Um, all right, we've got probably time for two more. This one is also came up in the chat actually. Question 4 is my company is concerned with the with data privacy and AI use. How can we be sure that we aren't sharing participant data, as well as how can UX research consultants leverage AI while still safeguarding client and participant data?
I mean, the two things that are top of mind, and something that anyway, the two things that are top of mind, the first is use enterprise accounts, right? They don't train on data. Check the model training policy of the tooling that you're using. That's my first suggestion. The second, this is more tedious and annoying, but I have had to do this in the past. But just anonymize the data. Take out the PII. Those are my two like quick fire suggestions for folks regarding privacy issues and security issues as well. And safeguarding participant data.
Absolutely. All right, last but not least, one of my biggest concerns is avoiding hallucinations. I feel like you touched on this a little bit earlier of hallucinations from AI is something we all have anxiety about. Um, how can we all like achieve a level of trust in these tools that we're using, especially as they're new to the market and new to us as users?
First, let's just define what is meant by hallucinations. It's when AI confidently produces something false, but makes it sound believable. Sounds like a lot of my colleagues that I work with. I'm not saying currently, I'm saying maybe in the past. And yes, that's hallucinations are a real risk, right? But here's the thing we don't talk about enough, and I don't hear. Humans hallucinate too. And I'm not talking about taking psychedelic mushrooms, LSD or ayahuasca. I'm talking about we misremember, we misinterpret, we write something that sounds authoritative and it's wrong. We all do it. We all make errors, you know? So the bar shouldn't be, in my opinion, about perfection. It should be about comparative accuracy and verifiability between human and AI. So I have not seen a benchmark. Oh, I have seen benchmarks for AI in terms of accuracy. I have not seen a comparison between human and AI. And if anybody has that, please send it my way. I'd love to see that and noodle on it. But a couple of ways that I have built trust with AI tools, and I know this is a big top of mind for folks as well. Start with known data, so data that you're really close to. I test tools with transcripts or with projects I'm already familiar with, and then I compare the results and spot where it misses or where it adds value. So again, a lot of experimentation. You want to run side by side with human output. So the AI output versus human output and kind of see its strengths and weaknesses. That takes a lot of time, but it's a good place to start in terms of building trust.
Yeah, I definitely think also like the more that folks like learn and use these tools, the more confident we can all feel in them. And as you're learning like the strengths, the weaknesses, where you might need to do a little bit more to make sure you get the right outcome. Um, well,
Yeah.
with that, I think we should shift to the final slide because our time together is coming to a close. But we will definitely try to answer some of these questions that folks had in the chat asynchronously where possible. And I also wanted to share ways that you can stay in touch with us as well as with Rose. We'll also send this out in the follow-up email, which will include recording for folks. But I'm going to drop a link. You can use this QR code, or I can drop a link in the chat for Rose's Substack, as well as our People Nerd Slack community, where you're all, more than welcome to join, and kind of we can always run through these questions with each other asynchronously too. So let me just drop those in the chat really quick right now.
Cool. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I really appreciate your time, and I hope this was really helpful for you. Please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, send me an email. I'll try my best to make time for you. I am incredibly busy, but I try to make time for folks in industry.
Yes, amazing. Thank you so much, Rose. This was such a great session. We've been looking forward to this for so long, so I'm so glad we can make it happen. And hopefully just the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Colleen. Thank you, D Scout. I really appreciate y'all.
Awesome. Well, everyone look out for the recording. It'll be in your inbox either later today or maybe early half of tomorrow. And it'll also be live on the DScout website. So you're welcome to share it out, watch it again, all those things. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, everyone.
Here.